Howdy, boys. Paul with you here today. I know a lot of you guys are interested in the update about my 5th gen and what all has went down with it in the dealership, specifically the issues that I was having with the transmission being all over the place. So hear me out, just follow me along. So when I went to the dealership, my biggest concern was the transmission, but also, while I have warranty, this thing is under $36,000. I had a list of other things I wanted addressed. Heck, why not? If they can do it, let them do it. And they put it on their list. They ordered in the parts and rescheduled me. So I'm headed to the dealership right now, actually. I'll keep you all updated, but a quick little rundown what they're planning on doing. For those guys that are in the area and want to try the dealership, they're solid boys. They give you answers up front. I got a shop of my own where I could work on little stuff like this. But since I got warranty and they'll buy the parts, or the warranty will cover the parts and labor, so might as well let them have it. The little issues I've had, oddly enough, my transfer case started sweating a little bit. No big deal, but the seal on the out shaft started sweating a little bit. The seal on my rear diff started sweating a little bit, but it's not the same seal. I believe the transfer case, the front drive shaft seal is leaking, and on the rear diff, it's the rear diff pinion seal that's leaking. So they'll change those out for some reason. Now, honest to God, I didn't wash the engine bay before I had this issue. The insulation under the hood started sagging. I never washed the engine bay. So I asked them, they said that they'll get me a new one for some odd reason. And the weirdest one for me was let me mute this radar. The weirdest one for me was the seat, man. The seat had this play in it, like a 450 pounder was sitting on the seat, and the rails are starting to give out, so there's play in the rails. So I asked them to take a look at that as well, and they did. Oddly enough, from day one, anytime I would wash the truck, here, let me try to reposition this camera. That little mirror, that little light over there in the mirror, convex mirror, auxiliary light, whatever you want to call it, the little spotlight that shoots light back to when you're trying to back up, lights up the rear. I always had moisture in it. Didn't seem to affect it, oddly enough. Like, the light still went through and everything worked fine, but it just looks odd. It's all, if I was stationary, I would have zoomed in on that little light and you would see that it's all like fogged up. So anyways, there's moisture in there, so a bunch of little things, but the biggest one is the transmission. I don't know what they're gonna do with it, honestly. On the XL, same story. Awesome transmission. It's an automatic transmission. It has its hiccups, and you just let it go. Once in a blue moon, it'll shift a little hard. I'm fine with that. But it's on the downshifting and tow haul mode. This thing is completely lost. It does some dumb stuff. Like, puts itself in red line and then can't hold the gear, seems like it. And then it ends up pushing into the red light. Running itself into the red, can't let go. I don't know how far it'll push it. I'm starting to push the accelerator down the hill when I need to use the exhaust brake to slow me down just to get it to upshift. It's just retarded. This transmission is lost in tow haul mode. When you're towing in the transmission and the Jake brake, or what? Well, it's not a Jake brake, it's an exhaust brake. They just can't communicate. They cannot understand each other. So, long story short, hopefully they could fix that. Hopefully there's a software update that they could fix that. That's the only thing. As far as hardware, I really don't think it's hardware, because it's all over the board. It's not consistent. I don't have a same problem like second to third or third to second downshift kind of deal. It's all over the board. To minimize the problem, what I do is I just don't use exhaust brake when I'm going through like passes and stuff. I'll put it in manual as far as the exhaust brake goes, and I'll start downshifting manually with this, or limited the transmission to top speed, top gear. So let's say I think this downhill requires a fourth or fifth gear. I'll downshift to let the exhaust brake do its thing, and we tend to do it. But as long as you don't touch the brakes too much. You push on them brakes a little too much, it'll pin it into the red again, and it's crazy. So I don't really like running my truck on low diesel. It just so happens. And I have a 55 gallon, by the way. My bottom tank is swapped out. I got a tiny bottom tank that's 55 gallons. So yeah, anyways, boys, that's the short update. Sorry it's taking so long. It's just the way it's working out. You know, they had to reschedule me way down the line, and then when they did reschedule me on that day, magically ended up in Seattle because previous night someone did something. I had to shoot for Seattle next day. So now hopefully we can get all these birds killed with this one stone that we got here today. Time is a big issue for me, and it's once in a blue moon it's not all that big of an issue, but a lot of times, because my life's so spontaneous, it's hard to plan too far ahead. But anyways, I'll keep you updated. I guess this video for those guys that are really curious of what's all going down in Paul's truck. It is what it is, you know. I really don't think there's an issue with the transmission. I think the transmission is just fine. Someone cheaped out and didn't put the research into tuning the transmission with the engine. So that's all that it comes down to. And keep in mind, this is Ison. To the new guys, I only run Ison trannies. I do not buy Chrysler trannies. And if you're new to the channel, check out my other videos. You'll see that I have quite a bit of the Ford Gens, and I have pretty good experience with them. You'll never hear me so bummed out about a Ford Gen. You know, problems come and go every day, all day. But, I mean, shoot, Ford Gens are fairly problematic, but the issues that they do have, I know fairly well and look at the back of my hand, so I feel comfortable with them. All right, boys, as always, we have arrived, and y'all take care and have a mighty fine day. Ciao.